Welcome to the Economic Development Council meeting. It is October 21st, 2021. And just so we are all clear, I'm gonna call out the people that I see. If you could just say here or yes, so for confirmation of quorum. Stephanie.
Here.
Bruce.
Here.
John.
Here.
Dan.
Here.
Chris, I can't see you, but it looks like you're on. If you want to say yes or here, be outstanding.
Yes. Hello.
All right, great. All right, so we have quorum. All right, let's get started. Let's jump right in. So the first item on the agenda is council reorganization. It was a little over a year ago. We're a little bit delayed in this, but we have to assign a chair and a vice chair. And, the past year has been an interesting year for economic development. There's been some, I think, growth and activity amongst this group. I think it's gone in a very good direction. And I'm going to be honest, I would like to stay chair. I really enjoy this position. And we all have some ideas moving forward and where we'd like to take this, and I'm really enjoying this role. So if anyone would like to throw their name in the ring, we can discuss, but I am throwing my name out there.
I'm happy to nominate Mark Lamb as chair for 21-22 for the Economic Development Council.
I will second that.
All right, we have Dan and Stephanie, and let's do a roll call vote. So Stephanie, we'll start with you.
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
John? Dan?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And I, Mark. And then we have vice chair. So we also have the role of vice chair. For the past year, Dan has occupied that post, and actually over a year. And I think he's done an outstanding job. Dan, we haven't talked about this. Is this something you want to stay in this role, or?
I appreciate it. I'd be glad to continue, but my bandwidth just isn't where I'd like it to be like a very active, vice chair. So if anybody else is interested and wants to throw their hat in the ring, I would not be opposed to a new vice chair. And if no one's interested, I'd be thrilled to continue on. So whatever works for the team.
Okay. Well, for the people here, between John and Bruce and Chris, I know you're new to this group and we haven't even introduced you yet, which we will get to, but I don't want to leave you out of throwing your hat in the ring for vice chair, if that is something that you're interested in. Any of you, does anybody have any comments on that? No?
No, I can identify with a limited bandwidth.
John, was that you throwing your name in the
Sorry,
ring?
no, it was not actually. Like just identifying with a limited bandwidth. I think it gets less and less every day. It's crazy out there.
Dan, sounds like you got it still. So I'm going to nominate Dan Smith for vice chair of economic development.
Second that.
All right, so we have a first and a second, and we'll do roll call. Stephanie?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
And Mark? Aye. So, all right, nothing changes. And the next item on the agenda, before we get to the introduction of Chris, I just want to get through these appointments. So we have established, the select board has established what is called the wayfinding group. And for those of you who might not know, the wayfinding group is a group of people in town. It's made up of various committees and I believe people from the public. And the purpose is to, so we've talked about wayfinding in this council. And when we did the continuation of the revitalization of downtown, which is what you see now, all that going on, within the grants, we have purposed money within that grant towards wayfinding, which is signage, but not signage in like a boring context. Like, if you were ever to go into like Mansfield or a Cape Cod community, something like that, as you enter into that community, there's signage that's specific to that community. It's, made of like wood or engraved, and it's nice, right? and it lets you know when you're entering certain areas of town. And it's not like your typical state entering Easton signs. It's a whole, it brings character to that area. So we're doing that downtown, but in the process of doing that, I believe it was Connor actually, this had been discussed, maybe you, Stephanie, was like, well, wait a minute, if we're going to create this type of signage and entering into these districts and throughout Easton, it has to have a lot of thought behind it, more thought than you would think, and as far as capturing the character of Easton. But it's not just like we're doing downtown. So whatever we choose downtown is going to cross over to Queesit, to Five Corners, because we have to maintain that character of look that we're going to create all throughout town. So though this group is being established now, and it's initially for downtown, it will move to other areas in town, and beyond that, it will exist for decades. So what we create now, and the character that's created now, will exist for decades to come. So it's a big deal. It's not just like, we're picking out signs. This is trying to establish the look and the character that we're going for. In the process, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just going to add to that. It is everything that Mark just said. In addition to that, it also helps rid the town of sign clutter, because you have the signage, the look, the feel, the shape is different for the type of wayfinding, the type of direction you're trying to provide. So all parking signs would look the same, if indicating where parking is available in town. Municipal, any signs that might indicate how to get to municipal buildings you'd have this consistent look, but they would also have a particular look to it. So it creates a sense of expectation with visitors and residents within the town. They know what to look for the type of directional information they're seeking.
Right. And so this group, it's made up of members like a select board has an appointee, Human Rights Commission has an appointee. There's, I think, even like Finance Committee, Historical Committee there's all sorts of people appointed to this committee. It's actually kind of large. Connor's on it. And so Economic Development has to appoint somebody to this committee. And this is something that I have been, kind of following this wayfinding for about 2 years now on the select board and, late in my Finance Committee years. So I would like to be on this wayfinding group. They're going to meet like once a month and they're going to establish this. And I would like to be on this group. However, it is open to the Economic Development group to nominate somebody. So let's, throw it out there, talk about it. If anybody wants it, I know I do. Does anybody have any comments about that?
I'd like to nominate Mark to be the representative for the Economic Development Council on the wayfinding group.
I would like to second that.
All right, excellent. So we have
I
Bruce.
would like to third that.
Thank you, Dave. I love that. All right, so let's do roll call. Stephanie?
Aye.
Bruce?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And I. Okay, outstanding. So the next thing I'm going to kind of squeeze in here, and this is before we move too much further into this meeting. We have a new member. We have a new face, Chris Lopes. Chris, welcome to Economic Development. It's great to have you with us. Could you please introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, your passion for economic development, why you're here, and give us a little bit about you.
Sure. My name is Chris Lopes. I moved into the community over 13 years ago now. I was very active prior to having children. I'm pretty sure all of you can relate. But my children now are in college. I have 2 in college. I have 1 in prep school. So we're empty nesters. So I'm trying to reinvent myself and trying to figure out different things to do outside of work. Prior to having children, and even when my kids were really small, I think I told you during the interview I ran for a state senator. My father was a politician. He was a council person in Providence, though I have no desire to go back into politics. I've actually, I don't know if you remember Senator Chafee from Rhode Island. So I was involved with his cousin, who was Fred Lippert, who ran for governor and mayor a few times. I've helped him when I was really young, kind of dating myself home. So I've been always active. I've contributed a lot to the community. I used to sponsor trips when I was single, and I used to travel all over the country. But so I used to sponsor different trips for kids in inner city to go on, to like Six Flags or bowling, et cetera. And I would cover the cost of the trip, et cetera. And then I did over 2 years of a chairman for the Mount Hope Neighborhood Association to help them recover. They were closing their doors. So I turned them around. And when I left, I think they were about $250,000 in their coffer before I left. So I stabilized them. And then because I was a parent at the time, living in Easton, and my wife and I and the children, and it just was eating up too much of my time plus doing my full-time job. So that's pretty much my story. I also in Easton, when I came to Easton, I coached Pop Warner football. I did a lot of, I coached basketball. I used to run a free clinic up at the high school weekends for the kids in the community. So I was always active. But now that the kids have moved on and they're far beyond my coaching skill set now, I have one son who plays, he's a freshman at Villanova. He's on a full ride for football. I have a son who's a senior at Mass Maritime Academy, and I have a freshman at Cheshire Academy in Connecticut playing sports. So, and they're academics. They're good students as well. So that's pretty much my background, and I look forward to my experience helping, and obviously you helping me as well, as far as evolving on the Economic Development Council. I think there's a lot of good things going on in Easton, and I want to be part of that.
That's outstanding, Chris. Thank you for that introduction. It sounds like with your kids, the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. It sounds like you've been a pretty good example in community service and bettering yourself. So thank you for being part of this group. It is an exciting group, and we have a lot going on. Sometimes we have too much going on where we establish ideas and then we move on to another idea. And even if we have established ideas, it doesn't mean that we're done with them, or if we haven't pursued an idea, it doesn't mean we're done with them. It just means we table them because we have so much on our plate. So let's keep the meeting moving along. And just so you know, Chris, we try and keep these meetings to an hour. So if you notice, my cadence sometimes picks up and sometimes slows down. I'm watching the hour because I'm trying to respect everybody's work schedule and whatnot. So at times you might be like, wow, he's segued very quickly, or there was a complete non sequitur there. I'm just trying to move things along. So the next item on the agenda is to accept the meeting minutes of September 9th. Did everyone have a chance to look at those meetings? And if so, does anybody have any comments, questions, or would they like to make a motion to accept?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. We have a second. All right, Dan and Bruce, going around the room. Stephanie? Aye, okay. Bruce?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Dan?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, so meeting minutes approved. And then we have in November, we have a Veterans Day. When our meeting is normally scheduled on Thursdays, the second Thursday of the month, I believe next month, it falls on Veterans Day. So do you guys want to do the week before? I think the week after might even be Thanksgiving. Is that correct?
No, I think Thanksgiving's in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks after.
So the thing is with what we have going on with EDC, we can't afford to miss many meetings. December 25th is Thanksgiving, right?
25th, yeah, November.
Yes.
All right. So the 11th is, so we can do the 18th or 4th. What do you guys want to do? The 18th or the 4th?
18th is better for me.
Okay. You spoke first, so we're going to move with the 18th.
That worked.
Does that work for you, Stephanie? You're on mute. Still can't hear you.
Nope, there I am. No, they were mowing outside and I thought it might interfere, but the 18th is fine for me.
Okay. All right. So we'll do that 18th. That was easy. Easton outside update.
Mark,
Yes.
before we move on from the meeting, next meeting, I'm just putting this out there. The time does not matter to me because we usually meet during the day, but we had talked about maybe changing the time to make it easier for people who, are working, unlike me, who works for the town. So this is part of what I do. We moved it to 11 o'clock to accommodate Tim McCall, which was the right thing to do at that time, but Tim has since not been able to continue and he stepped down. I think that's how we acquired Chris. Thank you. So just putting it out there, if people would like to meet earlier, I'm thinking maybe that would work better for people.
Let's talk about it. What do you guys think? Does 11 work? Does 10 work? I know anytime after 11 does not work for me personally. But 11, like 9, 10 or 11 works fine for me, but we can stay at 11. What are you guys thinking?
So
11
I
works.
have a lot of, I'm sorry.
Sorry, 11 works for me. I think later would be better. Going earlier is more difficult for me. I'm kind of
Okay.
used to the 11, so.
Same.
Yeah.
So then you know what? I'm getting a consensus that 11 works for everybody. It's a middle ground. Sounds like it's a middle ground for everybody here, at least for me. So, all right, we'll leave that at 11. Next meeting is the 18th, and next item is the Easton Outside update. Chris, I don't know how much you know about Easton Outside or if you've seen the signs, but in the past year, Economic Development partnered with the Easton Chamber of Commerce, and through the pandemic, we created a campaign called Easton Outside. Where we supported small business, local business restaurants, and it was a campaign basically to bring attention to the fact that businesses are open, despite there being a pandemic. They're open for business, and it was incredibly successful. And there was relationships that were forged and partnerships created, and businesses that at one point competed against one another learned that. The more you support other business, it actually benefits you. So it's the whole, rising tide lifts all boats mentality. And it actually worked. Like we did an experiment and it worked. It's true and it's real. And Easton was a great example of it. We had local coverage. We were covered by, I think it was Fox 25 in local papers. And there was incredible awareness on it. It was really awesome to be part of and to see. And currently Easton Outside is, we had our meeting Tuesday, and in that meeting we decided that we were going to start to take Easton Outside and move it kind of out of Easton Outside and into Discover Easton. So if you recall, Discover Easton, the app that was created through the grant that we've been pushing and promoting, we're going to kind of migrate Easton Outside into that app. So, Chris, if you can check out the Economic Development Facebook page, you'll see literature and a video of what I'm talking about, this Discover Easton app, which is this awesome app that really plugs you into everything that's going on in Easton in every facet, from government to restaurants to happenings in town. It's really cool. So Easton Outside is going to move to that. We have ordered and are in tons of banners and signs. So we're going to start replacing a lot of that Easton Outside stuff that you see all over town with Discover Easton. But we're not going to do it like, sneakily. There's going to be a campaign where, like, Neil from McGuire's is going to take videos of taking down the Easton Outside sign and replacing it with the Discover Easton sign to convey to people that, we're all still connected, but we're moving out of that. And the reason for that was Easton Outside is we're kind of coming out of the pandemic or learning how to live in a pandemic normally. So business is open. So these businesses are actually really busy. So it's not that they don't need the town support anymore, but they're doing really well. Actually, they need help in staffing. That's how well they're doing. So we're moving things out of Easton Outside and into Discover Easton. And that's going to be happening in the next month. You're going to see that transition. And then I think there's a couple events too for Easton Outside, and we'll continue to talk about how it's moving into Discover Easton. And Discover Easton is basically an effort like Easton Outside, bring attention to local business, what's going on in Easton, economic development. And did I miss anything, Stephanie?
Well, so I had to step out of the meeting for a few minutes. I had someone come into my office on a matter I had to discuss. So what was the plan amongst the members for getting the signs out to the people who are then going to work with swapping them with the businesses, swapping them out and doing the video?
There was no plan, actually. The plan was to wait for the direction from you, from Dottie, on what, like, we're standing by waiting to be told what to do.
All right, so this is what I'm going to do. I will follow up with Karen Newman, because the chamber was involved a lot. They had a lot of the signs, and I'll talk with Neil and I'll talk with Darcy and Frank Altieri about getting signs to those folks and let them know we have them, because we do have them. And then we need to at some point talk about the banners. I think we ordered 5 banners that were going to be placed around. So I'll get in touch with them and we'll figure that out and let everyone know how it's going.
Excellent. Does anybody have any questions about that? So I don't know why I want to talk about it right now. I was normally going to talk about it in the notes section, but I think it's pertinent to this part of our agenda. The other night in the select board meeting, we made an addition to economic development. So we now have, I petitioned the select board to change the charge of economic development to incorporate a member of planning and zoning onto our council. The reason behind that is because planning and zoning, if you're familiar with planning and zoning at all, which I know a lot of you are, Stephanie's part of planning and zoning, obviously, by virtue of her position. They have a pulse on what's going on in economic development areas around town, whether it's Five Corners, downtown, or Queesit. And they work with developers, they work with individuals and businesses, and not in a behind the scenes way at all, but just in a manner that's like, it's not on camera, right? Like they're doing their own thing. And they might be, they do have a body of knowledge about economic development in certain areas of town that we do not. And it would benefit us to know what's going on. Like we talk about Korea's Plaza all the time, for example. I'm just going to use that as an example. It could be Marketplace, it could be one of the properties in downtown. But we talk about these areas all the time. And it would benefit us to actually know what's going on with a certain property, to the degree that we can speak about it openly without violating somebody's privacy, right? And I think it would benefit us to have them as part of this group so we can openly discuss it. So if there's a problem, we know about it, or if we can offer some advice on how to navigate that or some ideas, we can offer it. But it will plug us into knowing what's going on in these areas that we've invested millions of dollars in, over the past decade, it will plug us into what's going on in real time better than we ever have before. So in our next meeting, I hope that you're going to see a member of planning and zoning to be part of this. So when we talk about Queesit, we can turn to that person and say, hey, what do you know? What's going on? Share with us. Because we could go down a road and it's a dead end. And we could spend so much time doing that, whereas this person could come along and be like, hey, guys, slow down, just so you know X, Y, and Z, and then redirect us, right? So I think it's absolutely beneficial to this group. It's beneficial to the town. It's beneficial to economic development. So that the charge has changed. So that's actually really good news. But I wanted to share that, and specifically for you, Chris, because you're entering into this group at a time when things are changing, and we're sinking our teeth into something a little bit more. In my thoughts in doing this, these past couple of years, we've been really great with working with small business. And we've also been talking about these economic zones. But at the same time, I thought to myself, like, all right, now that we're coming out of COVID and we're not working with these small businesses to the degree that we were, like, let's sink our teeth into actual economic development in the areas that we're always talking about. So it's a very exciting time to be part of this group, Chris. So that's the update on the charge change. And then grant program updates. Stephanie, could you take that away? I've talked too much also, so you're muted.
There we go. Okay, so I'm going to start with the local regional pilot program. Mark was talking about that a little bit. That was a grant opportunity that was brought to our attention through the Old Colony Planning Council by Dottie Fulciniti. Dottie works for the Old Colony Planning Council. She is their recovery specialist, working on these type of programs that are becoming available as a result of opera money and other recovery money due to COVID. And Dottie, of course, is a member of the EDC and a member of the select board. But she had suggested to the constituents that are part of the Old Colony Planning Council, the other municipalities and communities, that they create a campaign to build on Easton Outside's success. And a lot of communities were familiar with what was going on and wanted to replicate that. So the program allowed for the purchase of new signs, additional signs, buying the license for the business app for a year, and then some banners. So those signs and banners have been ordered. And as Mark mentioned, in Easton, what we're going to be doing is swapping out the Easton Outside signs and introducing the Discover Easton sign. We've already started rolling out the marketing campaign for Discover Easton. We did a mailing from my office, an email distribution to all the businesses for whom we have email addresses, which is over 300. We have a list of almost 500 of the businesses in town, and we have a significant number of email addresses for those businesses. And we posted on the Facebook page the availability, as well as on the news page on the front page of the town's website. Mark created the explainer that goes along with it, which actually is a great element of the marketing campaign. It's real easy to direct people to the link, and it kind of speaks for itself and markets the tool. So that's underway. The funding, everything, all the purchases needed to be made by the end of September. And so we have the materials in hand, and it's up to us to get those materials out and continue moving forward with the campaign. The local rapid recovery program, again, was part of the recovery funding. And this provided technical assistance to municipalities to work within their target economic growth areas to identify projects to help businesses recover from the impacts of the COVID lockdown and just generally having to respond to COVID and complying with health standards. We had originally applied for a broad plan that would look at the Queeset Commercial District, the Five Corners District, and the downtown area. Because of such a strong response from communities throughout the state, the Commonwealth, they required that we nail it down to one. So we picked, with some input from our technical assistant, which is a consultant, a planning consultant from the BSC group, we picked the Queeset Commercial District. I have a draft plan in place. I have some edits and some questions that I want to go over with our consultant. And once we get that, we will publish it. From that plan, they will be recommending between the state, the Department of Housing and Community Development, and our consultant, they will be recommending certain funding sources that we could apply for and might be eligible for to help execute our highest priority projects, which would probably be somewhere between 1 and 3 projects.
Outstanding. Does anybody have any questions about that? Chris, do you, some of this might sound like, Greek. So if you have any questions, please, by all means, interject. Okay, so that is the grant program update. EDC web update. I think the only thing we talked about, Matt, last time was can you get that video onto the website? I think that was our only request.
Yeah, and I missed last month's meeting, so forgive me. I know the last update I did was I had added messaging around the new app to the website. Gosh, I'm trying to rack my brain here for the video. And I honestly can't recall. I apologize.
Chris, we have a Think Easton website. It's called Think Easton, and Matt pretty much he's the only guy who knows how to change it, fix it. Not the only one who knows how to, but he has taken on that responsibility, and
yes,
we really
happy to yes.
for that, and I'm thankful. But our town has its own website for economic development called Think Easton. We're always making little changes and trying to keep it current. So I'm sorry to interrupt, Matt.
No, that's okay. I was thinking though, Discover Easton app, so it's got its own page and everything. I was thinking based on what you were saying about Easton Outside kind of being merged into promotion for the app, if this kind of merits an announcement and like its own kind of vertical on the website, like rethinking the way we, because a lot of the structure, and it's probably been about a year now since I first started looking at the sitemap here. A lot of this we like kind of inverted, like this is an iteration, right, on like what we previously had on the website. And I'm thinking a little bit about maybe kind of a more, not transformative, but like more a wireframe that represents more of like a step forward instead of a step to the side, sort of.
Yeah, and I think that's what we have to do. We have to. It's time to do that. So let's talk about what do you need. What do you need?
Yeah, I think on my docket, I'd love to be able to come to the next meeting with like a kind of proposal with a wireframe, thinking about how do we still contain the kind of like critical information that we do want to surface on the website, right? I think also potentially with the understanding that people tend to not read a lot on websites. People leave, like, I don't know what our bounce rate is, right? But it's probably fairly high, right? The rate of people who come to the website and then just leave. But thinking about, how to better, if Easton Outside is kind of becoming part of the promotion of the app, and we're thinking about a kind of constant promotion, both of Discover Easton, about stuff happening in businesses around town, about like special seasonal stuff, right? Like I'm sure there's plenty of holiday stuff coming up that we would really love to get up on the website. So I would love to come to the next meeting with a potential kind of like proposal rethink of what the site could look like. And then obviously, seek out feedback from everybody. We like, you look at the website now, we've got that link across the top of the page to the Easton Outside page, which has all those great videos and stuff. Like, is there a way, do we fold some of this stuff into our own website with the understanding that Easton Outside is kind of being sunset? But yeah, making it, maybe thinking about, I guess at a very high level, the Think Easton website as not just a place for reference information, but also a place for information about events, new businesses, promotions, that sort of stuff. And then, obviously we have social media for that too, but.
Right. No, I hear you. So it'll kind of have some of the same elements of the Discover Easton app.
Right. And then obviously with the goal of, you don't want to give everything away, but with the goal of sending people
10,000 foot view of what's going on, not a week by week play like the app has.
Right. And then like, hey, want to learn more? Get the app.
Okay. That sounds great. So maybe in our next meeting, if you could come to us, or between now and then, even throw out an email and say,
yeah,
this is what I'm going to be looking for in our next meeting. So please sleep on this prior to that, so we can talk about it without a deer in the headlights type, approach to it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Matt regarding that? No. Okay, general outreach and support. So we did the Discover Easton app already. We talked about that. We talked about Easton Outside, obviously. Manufacturing Day and Small Business Day. Those have come and gone. They're on the agenda. Do you want to talk about those, Stephanie, or John? Even I know that's your wheelhouse.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
The lawnmower keeps coming by. This section is really about promoting or just making people aware who might be listening in the audience, plus the members of the council, of what type of outreach we're doing on an ongoing basis, and generally just letting people know. And I'm going to come back to what Matt was just talking about, because I think maybe Thinking Easton, we can do more of these little announcements. So again, we're promoting the Discover Easton business app. Manufacturing Day is an annual event. John is very familiar with it. His organization has participated in hosting tours at Northeastern Machine in the past. This year, so what we did on our end, we posted a little informational piece on the Facebook, the Economic Development Council Facebook page, as well as a news item. And I think we were able to get it into Town Crier and point, with a link to both of those. But it was really more of, did you know this is Manufacturing Day, and the fact, and were you aware that there were 22 businesses, manufacturing businesses that operate in Easton? And there is a whole organization that develops marketing materials to promote the day. So we took some of that information, because it talks about the fact that manufacturing today is very different than when my father worked in a shoe factory. And it was very noisy. It was dirty. My father, one of his jobs at one point was dyeing shoes, and he'd come home with his hands covered in dye. That's not what manufacturing is about today. And they're good paying jobs. So it's really an opportunity for the workforce out there.
Before we move out of Manufacturing Day, before you go into Small Business Day, John, if you could add to this. I mean, this is your bread and butter. This is your livelihood. You know more about this than I believe anybody in this room. And Chris, or John, please, let Chris know what it is you do.
Sure. Chris, I own Northeastern Machine here in Easton. I grew up in Easton, and my father started Northeastern Machine Company in one side of a two-car garage on Elm Street back in '64. and we've been operating here at the same site. Luckily, we've moved out of the garage. We're about 15,000 square feet now on the same property, and we employ from 20 to 30 people. Like everybody, I know Mark had touched, he kind of touched on the worker shortage with restaurants. We're experiencing the same thing. We've had a tremendous shortage of employees in manufacturing for decades now, and we have tried to supplement that with students wherever we can find them. We utilize students from Southeastern Regional, Diamond Regional, Bristol, Plymouth. We've had interns in from BU, Wentworth, any place we can, actually UMass and Dartmouth, I think recently, and any place we can bring in students. And at any time we could have 2 to 4 students in the building doing inspection work, some engineering, operating equipment. And we've really struggled as the schools shut down, the time, you know, if the students are working from home, obviously they're not able to run the equipment in the trade schools. And that has, you know, really impeded their learning. It's impeded our ability to get students in, and it's been very difficult. So we've been operating over the last, most of the last year and a half, without the help of these co-op students. And now we're just starting through the summer. We picked up a couple, and we hopefully have a couple more starting through this fall. And they have they all have different schedules, but there's so many, a week or more on with us, and then a week or more back in the classroom. And you know, we've just started to get back into that. So we used to open our doors and have, I think 2 years ago was probably our last manufacturing day open house, and I believe we toured somewhere between 300 and 400 people through our facility that day. And unfortunately, with COVID, we've had to kind of shut that down, and even this year we haven't. But I'm hopeful with with us starting to get back into the students, starting to get back, you know, working with the schools again, that hopefully come next year, this will all be behind us, and we can, you know, get back on track and get people in and get looking at what different types of manufacturing is happening right here in Easton and all across the country, and the technology that it requires. You know, we've recently gotten into 3D printing. You know, it's a fascinating thing out there, but you know, we're really trying to get into that and see if we can rapidly create some of our fixtures and shave some time off the creating of tooling and fixtures for new jobs. And there's a lot of automation going on, and we're just really on that, you know, kind of forced on that automation track because of this lack of help, and also to become more competitive. So
that's a lot of information. Chris, do you have any, I know it's your first meeting, but do you have any questions? You know, anything going through your head right now?
Well, I actually have a few questions, but I promised myself that I would sit back and just be more of a observant of the first meeting. But some of the questions you actually answered, because my first question on manufacturing day was going to be, are we tied into the different schools? And it sounds like we are. Southeast Regional as well. That's where my son went to school. So that's a very good pipeline.
We've had, I think the different schools that we've had students from the engineering programs at in Easton, Brockton, students from Old Colony. I'm trying to think if I'm missing any. Southeastern, BP, Diamond Regional. I think we might have touched on Blue Hill Regional. I'm not sure that they have a machine shop, but I think we brought some students through. So really, anybody we can get a hold of, we're more than happy to get them in and really let them see how much manufacturing has changed. You know, it was the same. I know when I started with my father, it was, you know, it was noisy. We were in the, you know, 80, 90 decibel range. And I think the only thing close to a computer was a TI handheld calculator that he had at the time. And, now everything's computerized, and we've actually been flipping over some of our older, I hate to, it's kind of crazy to be describing 2000, year 2000 machines as vintage, but
No.
here we are in 2021, and the capabilities of the equipment is just mind-boggling to me. And we have some real amazing things going on. So I'm pretty excited to be able to open back up again. Hopefully next year we can do that.
So I do have a question on your technology, and I'm glad you mentioned new technology. I know in the business I'm in, we had to evolve, right, due to COVID. And I'm wondering, is the technology advanced enough in manufacturing where you could tap into the machines remotely so that folks can work via remote and design from their workstations at home?
The machines, we don't actually have that capability. The machines can be tapped into. You can do, it's more for monitoring purposes. They can alert you if something goes wrong, so you can come on site. They're capable of in-process inspection, but there are so many day-to-day operations where coolant levels need to be checked, and ships need to be pulled, material needs to be loaded, and tools need to be changed. So we've been open the whole time through COVID. We never closed. So that was kind of I know I have family members that have been working from home this whole time, and I know that I'm well aware that that's no picnic, and there was no business as usual. So for all of our employees coming in every day, I guess other than the commute was phenomenal. Coming up 24 all by yourself at 7 o'clock in the morning was something that I probably won't soon forget. But aside from the commute, it was a stressful thing, this invisible COVID, and not knowing, we're leaving the house and coming back to your family, and not knowing if you're bringing any unwanted things with you. And it's a pretty stressful time. But no, we've just had to be on site and just get the work done. And even though we do some pretty high volume parts, generally in the thousands up to 10,000s, but some of our machines can run 3,000-4,000 parts or more overnight. So even though we're making those high volumes, it all happens in a short amount of time. So we're, in a couple of days from doing a setup, you're back in changing the machine over to the next job. So, and it could be, we could be making, a medical part one day, semiconductor in a couple of days, and then, doing something for some hobby industry the next week. So it's really all over the place.
So Chris, that's a crash course in manufacturing in the year 2021 post-COVID. So,
That's it.
Thank you for that.
But it's I actually have to take off, and it seems like we're kind of towards the end of our meeting. But one thing I want to mention in our next meeting, we're going to have that member of planning and zoning with us. So I would like to dedicate like more than half of that meeting to them and us talking and engaging about the 3 economic zones and what's happening in those zones, to bring us all up to speed on that, because that's my goal for the next phase of this council, is to really bite into those areas and see what we can do. So Stephanie, if you could make a note that whoever they appoint, I really want to have meaningful discussion with that person and this group, and familiarizing ourselves with everything. That's really the only thing I have to add for our next meeting. And then obviously, Discover Easton update, but a lot of this other stuff, we don't need to talk about. So, but I do have to run. Stephanie, if I could leave it to you to close out the meeting, I would really appreciate it.
I will certainly do that.
That's to go. But guys, great talking to you. Chris, awesome to have you part of the group, and I will see you guys soon. So I'm going to take off, but don't everybody leave. You got to adjourn the meeting properly. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, Mark.
Thank you.
So Dan, as vice chair, I'm going to turn it over to you to ask for a motion to adjourn.
All right, so motion to adjourn this beautiful October meeting.
Second that.
All in favor?
Cat walks by.
Yeah, sorry.
To the cat.
He gets up here sometimes.
All right.
Aye.
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 Cat say.
I think that's an aye.
All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank
Aye.
you.
Bye.
All right, take care.
Bye.